Hello and a very good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Chris and I'm one of the Shortcuts educators. So for this morning, of course, we are going to be running through how to sort of set up, how to manage any self-employed staff you may have in your business or any chair renters or anything like that. And it's something we get asked quite a bit, especially since the pandemic and things like that. So today we're going to be running through lots of different ways we can sort of help assist you in your shortcut system for those self-employed staff members. Now, before we begin, if you've never been on any of our classes or webinars, thank you ever so much for joining me. If you have been on my classes before, welcome back. Again, thank you for joining us. There's always a little bit of housekeeping before we get into the fun stuff. So before we begin, ladies and gents, the duration of this webinar is going to be approximately 45 to 60 minutes. I appreciate you may be joining me in between clients or before you start work, so I'm going to try and keep it to the 45 minute to 60 minute mark. My microphone is switched on, whereas everyone else has automatically been muted, and your speakers must be turned on to hear this webinar. Questions will be taken either via the Q&A or the chat box, but as you may know, if you've been with me before, feel free to unmute yourself, have a little chat with me if you wish to. That's perfectly fine, no issues there whatsoever. Make it live, make it interactive, no problem whatsoever. So what will we be covering today? So we're going to be looking at different ways to set up staff profiles and then looking at security levels. So of course, if they are self-employed staff members, you may not want them to have the same sort of level of access as everybody else. From there, we're going to look at different ways to manage services and schedules, understanding certain reports that can go alongside self-employed staff members and help track their performance. And then, of course, commission structures and payouts, because, you know, they may be maybe like a 50-50 split or a 60-40 split or anything like that. And again, if you've never been on my webinars, we tend to have a little bit of a PowerPoint and then we move into the live demonstration. For this particular class this morning, ladies and gents, we're actually going to jump straight into the fun stuff, okay? So feel free to sort of watch along with me. Today's class will also be recorded as well, so please feel free to just request that at the end. So I'm going to jump straight into the live stuff for this Wednesday morning. I'm wishing our lives away. So I'm going to open up my Shortcuts Fusion system. Okay, excellent stuff. So to get the ball rolling, I've opened up my Shortcuts Fusion system. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is my employee profile. Now, at this stage, I would sort of go as far as say you would have your self-employed staff member already created on the system, but it's no problem if you don't. So all we would need to do is just go to Setup, and then we would just choose employees on the right-hand side of that navigation bar. As we said, hopefully you've already got that employee added into your shortcut system, but if you don't, no problem, just simply click the new button in the bottom left-hand corner and add in that alias. But I'm going to go ahead and say I've already got my self-employed staff member on the system. And I'm going to click my drop-down menu in the top left, and I'm going to choose my self-employed staff member. Now, my self-employed staff member is Gemma. Now, one of the first things we're going to take a look at is something very simple, but down the center bottom of the screen here, where it says Send Appointment Communications to Client. Now, of course, if this is a self-employed staff member, you may or may not wish them to be sending out confirmation text messages, you know, appointment reminders, digging in and eating into your SMS bundle. So if you don't want them to be using your SMS bundle, if you want them to sort of manage their own sort of messages and you don't want them automated messages to go out, we can simply disallow that. So all we would need to do is click undo the tick box here where it says Send Appointment Communications to Clients. Now, something very quick and very simple to do, but of course, you know, you might be thinking, oh yeah, I've only got a 300 bundle. And of course, you might be thinking, oh, I don't want, you know, that self-employed staff member eating into that bundle there. So that's one of the very first things we could take a look at doing. From there, we're going to take a look at a payment type. Now, it may be that Gemma, my self-employed staff member, has his or her own sum up machine or has their own card machine. And we don't want it getting confused by going through the usual payment type options at your point of sale screen. Cash is sort of technically fine to do. You could still run it through and just separate it, but you can also create your own cash payment option for Gemma, as well as the card payment option. So that's what we're going to take a look at now. So we're going to go ahead and say Gemma has her own sum up machine. So she's going to handle her own card payments. But when she's checking those clients out the point of sale screen, we don't want to be clicking the card payment option that all of our employed staff will do, because it's going to make things a little bit messy. So what I'm going to do is on the right hand side under setup, I'm going to click onto our configuration. And on the left-hand side, second option down, I'm going to click onto payment types. Now we can see all the payment types we've got here, and we've got the standard credit and debit card payment. But as we said, Gemma has her own sum up machine. So we don't want all of her technical card payments going through your card machine. So we're going to create Gemma's own card machine, and she has a sum up machine. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click the new icon just here, and I'm going to add in that payment type. And I'm just going to call it Gemma Sum Up, but it could be Gemma's Payments. Sometimes we do that if that particular staff member doesn't want to differentiate between cash and card payments that they take. It could just be simply called Gemma's Payments, or you could have Gemma's Card Payments and Gemma's Cash Payments to help, whichever you sort of wish to do. So I'm going to add in my Gemma Sum Up machine, and I'm going to click Done. Now we're presented with some options to the right-hand side. Now this option here, banking, this is quite an important option. What this simply means is if we tick this banking option just here, when we come to do our end session or end of day cashing up wizard, when we get to the third or the fourth step, you may be privy to the fact it asks for certain payment types, and you will enter what you've taken in cash, what you've taken in card, what you've taken in check, and sometimes you may have things like an online payment. If we tick the banking option, it will simply mean when we do the cashing up at the end of the day, it will ask us to input all of the takings associated with this payment type here. Now that might be quite tricky because it might be that we simply don't know what Gemma's taken for the day because naturally she's taking her own payments through the card machine. It might be that Gemma finishes a little bit earlier and of course she's gone home and there's simply no way of knowing what she took in cash or card. So I'm going to say I very rarely have much to do with Gemma. She sets her own hours. So when it comes to the end of day cashing up, I'm not going to need to input how much she's taken. Now, it's not going to be hidden or anything like that. The takings will still be visible. It will just simply not ask us to input any takings for the Gemma Sum Up machine. If you need a little bit more of a demonstration of that, I can show you that at the end. But I'm going to say I don't want to, when I do my cashing up for all of my employed staff members, I don't want to sort of be inputting and saying, you know, oh yeah, Gemma did this for today, and this is how much Gemma took for today. I want her to sort of manage it completely herself. So underneath, we don't need to do treat changes tip. We can do open cash register, open cash drawer if we need to tilt a pop. So that's typically if we're taking cash. And you can also tick the credit or electronic funds transfer card option if you want to click the card button at the point of sale screen. And that is this button just here. Sorry, it's this button just here where we've got the card. So if we were to click the credit or EFT card button, that's what will pop up. If not, it will appear under the other button just here. So we don't need to click the gift card or loyalty card button, and we also don't need to do the cancellation charge button. So I'm going to simply click on to save, and we've added that in there. So we've added in a nice new payment type for Gemma, and we've called it the Gemma Sum Up machine. So the next thing we're going to take a look at for Gemma is the security levels. Now, of course, some of you may have looked at security levels before, but of course, if Gemma is self-employed, we may not wish her to have access to certain things or see certain things, and we might want her to be able to control certain things as well. So what we're going to do is under Setup and Configuration, again on the left-hand side, we're going to click onto General, and we're going to click Security in the top left-hand corner. Now, you may already have your staff member associated or assigned to a certain security level, but you can see here Gemma is currently unassigned. Now, I've got Stacey and I've got Nicola under my managers, and I've got myself and Amy under the owners. But I don't want to put Gemma under my manager. I don't want to put it under my employee, because I want to be able to differentiate my certain security levels, because this is my self-employed staff member. So I want to create my own security level, and I want it to be specific to this particular staff member. So how do we do this? So on the right-hand side, under my security levels, I'm going to click onto New, and I'm going to add my new security level. And I'm just going to call it self-employed. Now, of course, if you have multiple self-employed staff members and they're all going to have the same security level, feel free to pop everybody under this sort of blanket umbrella level here. Or if not, you could just simply call it Gemma, and then you could just associate Gemma with this security level. Now, please remember, ladies and gents, this is a security level. This is not a floor level or anything like that. So it's not like senior stylist, principal stylist, or anything like that. So we've got that self-employed new security level there. So all we need to do is simply move Gemma, who is currently under the unassigned, but we could also do exactly the same if they were currently under an existing level. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to click my multi-select tab. Now my multi-select tab is the 6 grey dots just here to the left-hand side. So I'm going to click and drag on my multi-select tab and pop Gemma under my self-employed security level there. So now we can take a look at the access. So what type of access will Gemma have within this new level? So right at the top of the screen, we're going to click onto this green access tab just here. And to the left-hand side, you should now see that new level we just created. Now, by default, again, please be aware, you will notice it is quite a lenient security level. So we can see we've got lots of access available here. Now, one of the first things to sort of think about is, do you want this self-employed level? Do we want Gemma, who is associated with this self-employed level, do we want Gemma to be handling her own schedule, her own roster? If yes, we can see we've got this security level straight away here where it says schedule. We can expand this level by clicking the plus sign and see the individual levels of access within that category. So if we do want them to be able to see the schedule, we simply leave the tick here. And we leave the tick here if they're able to set their roster up and change their rostered hours here, and also change their actual hours if they're using clock on or clock off. Most of the time for the self-employed staff member, you may wish to be able to give them access to everything here. Now, it would also be worth just going through some of the other levels of access we've got here, such as configuration. You know, you may not wish them to be able to change employee setup or service setup or anything like that. So just simply go through, working through each individual option, making sure that you're happy with the level of access for this newly created self-employed security level. If you have any particular questions on the security setup, or if there's something that you're particularly concerned about this staff member seeing or not seeing, feel free to drop me a question or a message in the chat box, and I'm more than happy to run through that with you at the end. When you're happy with your security setup, simply click Done in the bottom right-hand corner, and you may just have to give a quick restart to your Shortcuts system. So just to circle back really quickly, we've looked at the security level there, ensuring that our newly created staff member has the correct security or the correct level of access. And we've also looked at disallowing or not allowing them to be able to send appointment communications. So if we don't want them to eat into your SMS bundles from sending out text messages. And we also created that sum up card machine just to keep it really nice and specific, that new payment type, Gemma's sum up machine. Now, it may be that, we're quite a big salon, and of course, we are past the VAT threshold because we've got a lot of staff members. But what about our self-employed staff member, Gemma? She hasn't reached the VAT threshold, and therefore her services are tax or VAT exempt. But all of our other staff members, all of our other services are VAT inclusive. So what can we do here moving forward? Now, what we would say to do is simply create a new set of service categories for Gemma that can be tax exempt. Now, it might be a little bit time consuming moving forward, but of course it will quite literally pay off in the end, because of course we don't want all of her VAT going onto the business. It will also make things a lot easier if you're utilizing things like online booking, Google Reserve bookings, or app bookings. We want to ensure that this staff member only gets booked in for their services. So it will make it that little bit easier potentially if they have their own service categories. So how do we do this? So on the right hand side, we're going to click onto Setup, and we're going to click onto Services just here. Now you'll notice to the left hand side, we've got some existing service categories, and I've got one pre-created here called Gemma. And I'm just going to call this Gemma's Services or Gemma Services. Now, all you would need to do to create a new category like I've got here is simply click Business in the top left-hand corner and click New. And you can see that will give us this new service category just here. So I'm just going to quickly delete that one out. So once we've got the category, we can then assign all of Gemma's services to that category. So again, all we need to do is click onto the category name and click New. We can go ahead and add that in there. Feel free to add in a description so you can say this is particularly for Gemma's services. You can change the VAT rate on the top right hand corner, but don't worry too much about that for the time being. If not, I'm going to show you a trick to be able to change all of the services associated with this category. So I'm going to go ahead and add in all of the details here. I'm going to add the sell price in. You can choose the service reporting categories here. This won't affect anything. You don't need to create any more service reporting categories, particularly for Gemma. You can do if you have a few available, like I do here, but it's perfectly fine to choose existing reporting categories. If this particular service, the full head of highlights, requires a skin test, you may wish to tick this box here that says Need Visit Details, and that will ensure if this service is to be booked via web, it will ensure a patch test prompt appears by ticking the Need Visit Details. And from here, we would simply go ahead and add all of those services in. Now, if you've created quite a few services, and as we said a few minutes ago, Gemma is VAT exempt or tax exempt, we can quickly change all of the services associated under this category. So how do we do that? All we're going to do is we're going to right click on the category here. So using the right hand side of my mouse, I'm going to right click and I'm going to click onto the option Change Cell Tax Rate. And you can see we've got exempt here and VAT on services 20%. Simply choose exempt if this particular service category is VAT or tax exempt. And then we just click done. And that will ensure all of the services associated with this category will remain tax exempt. And then we just click done in the bottom right hand corner. Now, again, if you do want to take that a little step further, if you are thinking, okay, I want my own specific service reporting categories, I don't want any services that Gemma have done to count towards any of my other staff members. I don't necessarily mean monetary value, I mean in ways of just how many services we've done. So if you're really wanting to keep an eye on how many full heads of highlights we've done, and you don't want it to be that Gemma's done 20% of them and it gets confused with how many your employed staff do, we can also look at those reporting categories. And again, we can do that by clicking Services and clicking the Reports category option here, the RPTS category. Now, again, you'll notice we only have 10 reporting categories available to us. If you've ever used a performance summary report, you'll see where the service reporting categories come into. If you've ever done targeted marketing, you'll see where the service reporting categories come into. But if you wish to, you can add in that report category there, and I'm just going to call it Gemma's. And from there, you can go ahead and any service, you can link to that report category as well. So you can simply click onto the service here, go into the details. One of my favorite sayings, as some of you will know, is it's all in the details. We can go into that there, and then we can tick that specific reporting category there. As we said, that's purely for reports. So if you want to specifically see just how many services that Gemma has done, you can use that there, and you would just untick that one there. But that's being very black and white. That's being very, very specific there. So we've set up all of those services. But it may be, we have a 50-50 split with Gemma. It may be whatever Gemma takes, we take 50%. We sort of pay her 50% and we get 50% as sort of like a chair rental. Maybe a 60-40, a 70-30, or anything like that. If that is the case and you do want to run that through Shortcuts, we would recommend setting up a commission split. And I will show you a report to track that in just a few moments. So to the right hand side, what we're going to do is we're going to click onto Setup and we're going to click onto Employees. And towards the center bottom, we're going to click Schedule. And you'll notice there's an option here that says Commission. Now I'm going to set up a very basic 50-50 split. If you find you have a slightly more complex setup with your self-employed staff member, and it isn't just 50% on services and 50% on retail or anything like that, it might be a little bit more complex in a way that we pay them 50% for cuts, but we pay them 30% for color, and we don't pay them as much for selling GHD or electrical styling products. We can cater for that as well. It would just be an extended commission report structure. Please let us know at the end if your staff has a slightly more complex commission structure. This one here, just to demonstrate, is going to be something a little bit more simple. It's just going to be a simple 50-50 split. Okay, 50% on services on anything that they take. So they take 50% and we take 50% from them as well. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to click onto New, and I've created a new commission structure here, and I've just simply called it Gemma Self-Employed here. And then I've got my tiers, I've got my bands here, I've got my sort of boundaries. And I'm just simply going to say I take 50% from Gemma on everything that she does, which is simply why here I've left it at 0. And I've put sort of an unreachable amount here of around 10 million, simply meaning whatever Gemma takes, I will take 50% in service. And you can go ahead and add in any retail or sundry items as well, such as gift cards and any PPE or anything like that as well. You can set different bands as well, different tiers. So maybe you don't take anything if they only earn £0 to £500. And then from here, you could go 501 to that sort of infinite amount there. That would work perfectly fine as well. But I'm just going to simply say whatever Gemma takes, I take 50% there. And then we just click Done. And then we just save our changes. And then click Done again. So now we've created that commission structure. We need to assign it to our employee. So again, under our employee screen on the right-hand side, ensuring we've got Gemma selected from the drop-down menu towards the top left-hand corner, you'll notice under Pay Details, we have Commission towards the left-hand side. Simply click the drop-down arrow and choose the relevant commission structure. Click Save in the bottom right-hand corner to save your changes. So now anything we run through will be associated with that particular commission structure. So I'm just going to go ahead very quickly and I'm going to pop in a little appointment there. So let's get an appointment just booked in very quickly. So we've got that service booked in just there. Now you may be having quite a few staff members and you might have quite a few self-employed staff members. So from here, you may have gone ahead and set up 10 self-employed staff members that work alongside 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of your employed staff members. And your front of house, your other staff members might be looking at the columns like this and might be thinking, oh, I've got my self-employed on the right, I've got my employed there, or they're all sort of entwined with each other and I'm really struggling to find my self-employed staff members. Is there a way to make my viewing experience a little bit easier? Yes, there is. So towards the bottom left-hand corner, you'll notice we've got this filter option just here. And we could very quickly simply click onto the option that says Choose Employees. We could click onto Choose Employees and simply choose Gemma just here. When we click onto Done, that will show us Gemma there. But what about if we're thinking, okay, well, that's a good way, but I'm going to give it something a little bit more permanent, something that I can flick to nice and quickly. I don't want to have to keep going, oh, is Gemma self-employed? Is Chris self-employed? Is Amy self-employed? I want like a more permanent way. So again, let's undo that filter in the bottom left-hand corner. And I'm going to save and create a custom filter. Now, as you're watching this, ladies and gents, this doesn't just have to be for self-employed staff members. You can simply do this for any type of staff member you may have. So again, we're going to click on to that filter option in the bottom left-hand corner. But this time to the right-hand side, you'll see we've got this tab that says Filters just here. I'm going to click onto Filters, and I'm going to click the New option just here. And this will allow me to create a new custom filter. To the left-hand side, I'm going to use my Multi-Select tab. Remember those 6 grey tab there. I'm going to select Gemma. And again, if you have other self-employed staff members, or even you just want to do it for employed staff members, go ahead and select accordingly. And when you're happy, click Add. At the top, we can add in a filter name. So I'm going to call this self-employed. And I'm going to click Done just here. And it says, do you wish to apply the custom filter now? Yep, we can go ahead and add that in. And you can see that's added in that custom filter. And if I remove the custom filter here, click back onto it, you'll notice under the filters option, we've always got the self-employed, and you can click onto that and that will take us straight there. We can clear it and it will remove it. We can click back onto it and it will take us straight there. And then, like I said, you can do that maybe for barbers, colorists, employed staff, anything that you kind of want to do there to really help you toggle between your staff members, making that life a little bit easier. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to check this client out with my self-employed staff member, Gemma. Go through the details here. Now, you may remember 10 to 15 minutes ago, we set up our sum up machine. We created that new payment type. And the reason we want to do that is we don't want it to be associated with any of our other card takings or anything like that. We want to make it nice and black and white, nice and specific. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click onto the other option just here in the bottom right hand corner. And you'll notice we have our other payment type here where it says Gemma Sum Up Machine. So we're now using that as our payment type. We're not getting it entwined or confused and mixed up with our other card payment. We're simply using Gemma's Sum Up Machine. We're going to click Done. We're going to go through the next steps and we're going to do the all important bit and finish the sale. Now, if you have ever got this pop up here where it says parameter name payment type, it's a very simple fix. If you have been doing this alongside me, it's a very simple fix. All you need to do, ladies and gents, is simply restart your shortcut system. Because it's a custom payment type created, I didn't have enough time to just restart my shortcut system during the class. All you would do is simply give it a quick restart on the right hand side, and that will just remove that error there. So last but not least, we can take a look at some reports to help track this. Now, we set up a 50-50 split when it came to Gemma. Okay, so what we can do is we can go to Tools and Reports on the right-hand side. And on the left-hand side, you'll see we've got this option where it says Employees. And underneath that, you'll notice there's an option that says Commission and Wages Report. So all I'm going to do is click onto it, and I'm going to click the View option down the bottom. To the left-hand side, you'll notice we have an employee section. If it makes life a little bit easier, simply select Gemma, and again, there's those multi-select tabs. We can click Add. We can choose a date range from the left-hand side. You can choose from one of our default date ranges here, or you can input your own custom date here, or your custom date range here. And then all we do is we simply click View in the bottom right-hand corner. And you'll notice straight away here, we've got my commission. So I set up a 50-50 split for Gemma. So you can see the total service was £20, and you can see the total owing. So we know for that 50-50 split, the takings there, we simply owe Gemma £10. So that's a great report, keeping track of that commission structure there. But we also have something which I would very much recommend any self-employed staff member having, or any ladies and gents watching that have the self-employed staff member. Some of you may be familiar with the trading summary report. And the trading summary report, if you're not quite sure what that looks like, can be found under end of day and trading summary just here. Now, this will show all of the day's takings. So if we take a look for today, we can see all of the takings that we've got. Now, that will include that £20 for Gemma. Now, we can see this just here. If I zoom in just a little bit more down the bottom, we can see this has included Gemma's £20. Now, we have a great report. It's a custom report. It's called the Departmental Trading Summary, okay? The Departmental Trading Summary. And why is it a fantastic report? Well, it simply sets or splits your staff members into departments. So what this would do is, rather than this trading summary here, which we can see has both my employed, such as Chris, and self-employed takings on it, the departmental trading summary will split that out. We can have a departmental trading summary for all of your employed staff members, and we can have a departmental trading summary for all of your self-employed staff members. And this is what that custom report will look like. So we can see here, this is what my self-employed departmental trading summary will look like. So it splits it completely out. It is a trading summary specific for this staff member. And it can be done for each individual self-employed. It can be done for self-employed as a whole. It can be done for employed as a whole. So it really helps to split that out. And of course, you may be thinking, okay, well, I'm definitely going to need that because that's going to help ensure my self-employed and employed staff are really split out. So we can see here, we've got Gemma. It has her own categories, her own services, and her own takings, her own tips, everything like that. So that is the departmental trading summary. It's a custom report. We'd be more than happy to add that on there for you. And it's a great report. I would very much recommend, if you've got any self-employed staff members, you request we put that departmental trading summary. We can discuss the costs associated with that at the end. It comes with a training session. We show you how to set it up because we need to ensure all of the services are correct, everything like that. So we'll always run through that with you, but it's a fantastic report to have. And one of the last reports, if we go back to my Fusion system, can be found under transactions, and it is quite simply transactions by employee. So if you want a really definitive report to see any transactions by the employee, and again, you can filter it on the left-hand side. You can adjust the miscellaneous items. We can include services, we can include products, everything like that. And I'm just going to click View, and now we can see straight away all of those services associated with that staff member. So if you were to just simply filter this to Gemma, for example, it would show all of the takings associated with that staff member. Again, making it easier to work out any money owed to us, any rent owed to us. Or if you're not using the commission structure that I set up, the 50-50 split, it's a great way to track that as well, just to really see the employees that the services that employee is doing. And that is it, ladies and gents. So a little bit under the 45 minutes there. So that's some great ways to keep track of our self-employed staff members. Thank you ever so much for watching me this morning. If you do have any questions, please feel free to pop those across to me now. Perfect. So If anybody wants to chat further, please feel free to drop me an email. You can speak to me further at education@shortcuts.co.uk, or feel free to give us a call on 0161 972 4900. It's option 1 and then option 4. Please also make sure you've given us a little follow on Instagram or Facebook at ShortcutsUK. And any further classes can be found on our website. I'm just going to have a look at the message box just here. Yeah, great question. So we've had a great question come through there. Can I do different commission rates for different services? It's a great question. Not as such. You wouldn't be able to do like a commission structure for a cut and blow dry, a commission structure for a blow dry or anything like that. You would be able to do things for like styling and color. You'd be able to do it that way, but you wouldn't be able to drill it down mega specific for each individual service. It would be for the categories. So if you had a category called styling, a category called color, you'd be able to do different commission structures for those categories, which would then incorporate any specific services under that category. But if you had, let's say, a category called styling or hairdressing, and under that category had a cut and blow dry, wash, cut and blow dry, gents cut and blow dry, restyle, you wouldn't be able to do different commission structures for each individual service. I suppose the way round that, it might be a little bit messy, but would be simply to have different different service categories. So you could have a cutting category, a styling category, a colouring category, a treatment category, and then any services under that specific category you'd be able to do accordingly. But if there's something in particular, feel free to pop it over to education@shortcuts.co.uk. More than happy to have a little look if there's a very specific commission structure you want, or if there's a way you want it to work. Feel free to pop an email over. Should be on the screen there, education@shortcuts.co.uk. But yes, essentially you can only really do it for the services within the category, not each individual service within different categories and things like that. So you need to split all of the categories out, which might look a little bit messy. But it's a great question. Perfect. Lovely. So I think that's it for all of the questions. Like I said, if you do think of something a little bit later on, feel free to pop me over an email at education@shortcuts.co.uk. Please do stay tuned for any further classes coming your way over the coming weeks and coming months, and some exciting news as well coming with those classes. Thank you ever so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. My name was Chris. Thank you ever so much for joining me. Have a fantastic day, and I shall speak to you and see you all again soon. Take care. Bye-bye for now.